So I was wrong. I've been wrong before, but I don't think I've ever been this wrong and shown to be this wrong so quickly. So let me tell you what I'm talking about, for those that are unaware. Just a bit ago, I made a video talking about FightinCowboy's video in which he insisted that the upcoming Armored Core game would not have a lot of elements from Souls games, and certainly not enough elements to consider it a Souls-like. His video was a response to Vati's video, presenting all the evidence that it would have elements of Dark Souls. The video that I made had 2 points, basically. The first was that we had only one eyewitness testimony describing the gameplay in the Armored Core initial leak. And the person that saw this gameplay described the speed and movement style of the melee combat to be reminiscent of Souls games. FightinCowboy dismissed the leaker's initial impression based on the fact that he wasn't an Armored Core fan, he had never played an Armored Core game, and thus his perception could be skewed. I felt that it was hasty to dismiss his opinion altogether so quickly, seeing as his was the only eyewitness testimony that we had. My second point was that I didn't think it would have enough Souls elements to constitute as a Souls game, but that it could borrow some things from Souls games without losing its identity as an Armored Core game. Finally, I concluded my video by stressing that Armored Core fans and Souls fans should keep an open mind. That From Software was sure to make an excellent game regardless if it was a Souls-like, not a Souls-like, a mix of both, or something completely different. I didn't feel particularly passionately about whether the new Armored Core game would be Souls-like or not Souls-like, but I thought at least it was likely that they would bring some of their know-how that they gained throughout all these years making Dark Souls, Sekiro, Bloodborne, and Elden Ring. And so it would be best if Armored Core fans didn't go all in and vehemently insist that there was no chance it was going to have any Souls inspiration. But it looks like I was wrong because we got some new information today. We just got an interview from Miyazaki addressing this very issue, and I'll read it to you now. He's pretty much asked if this new Armored Core game is going to be like Dark Souls, and this is what he has to say. No, we've not been making a conscious effort to try and direct it towards more Soulsborne type gameplay. The essential action of Armored Core 6 was to go back and take a good look at the concept of Armored Core and what made it special. So we wanted to take the assembly aspect, assembling and customizing your own mech, your Armored Core, and then being able to exact a high level of control over the assembled mech. So we want to take those two core concepts and re-examine those in our modern environment. The article goes on to say, in practical terms, that means retaining many of the elements that have defined the series throughout the years. Features like its granular mecha customization and its 1 versus 1 arena mode. Its most readily available Soulsborne elements are apt to be its powerful bosses, a From Software staple, and its dark setting, the latter of which was already a big part of Armored Core's identity. It also features a posture system of sorts, which director Masaru Yamamura, a veteran of Dark Souls and Sekiro, Shadow Dies Twice, says works by continuing to attack even the strongest enemy. The force of impact can break the enemy's posture and inflict a large amount of damage. Think of it as something like holding up a shield and absorbing damage until you're forced to relent. Where Armored Core stands apart is in its focus on ranged weapons over swords and melee weapons. Yamamura acknowledges as much in our interview, though he also points out that Armored Core features some nice melee options. Both Yamamura and Miyazaki resist simple comparison to Soulsborne games. Miyazaki is firm in saying that customization is its main focus, and Yamamura says there are no elements directly referring to Sekiro. Nowhere is that more evident than the decision to go with a mission-based design, which connects directly to its predecessors versus the more open structure of Elden Ring and its ilk. Miyazaki says, "We felt that the mission-based structure was a benefit for this because it allows you to choose and customize before each sortie. At the very least, the tempo, the pace at which the player is able to move across the world and traverse the map, this is a very big aspect in how you approach this design. I think one of the big appeal points of the previous Armored Core games is having this freedom to choose how you're going to move across the map and how your choices are going to affect your mobility and your ability once you're actually in the level. This is the format we wanted to choose this time, and this is where we wanted to put our focus." Well, that kind of puts the nail in the coffin for my previous video. But this whole article is kind of interesting, so I'm going to go ahead and read the rest of it. It reads, Miyazaki of course got his start with the Armored Core series before eventually going on to direct Demon Souls, so he knows it better than most. Armored Core's main opportunity may lie in utilizing From Software's enhanced resources to produce a graphically ambitious experience. Miyazaki himself admits that he's jealous of the team today who gets to make Armored Core 6. I wish we had that sort of leverage back in the day, he says somewhat wistfully. Yamamura, meanwhile, talks at length about what From Software can accomplish with Armored Core 6 enhanced graphics. Obviously, the mecha theme of Armored Core 6 means that we are portraying these enormous hunks of steel, and we're supposed to imagine how these things would move and how they'd be put together. The various joints, how these all sort of move in conjunction with one another, and how to make this look cool, in a gameplay sense as well, Yamamura says. So this is something that we're able to apply resources to. Obviously the metallic texturing of these things and the sound design as well. We're able to use Foley to get some realistic sounds to apply to these mechs. There are a lot of areas that we're able to apply these resources in modern thinking as well. That may be the crux of what's driving From Software to make Armored Core 6. It may have found untold riches in making games like Elden Ring, but it hasn't forgotten its beginnings. Pending the first full gameplay reveal, Armored Core seems to be fully set on being, well, an Armored Core game, with all that entails. It's even keeping the number despite having a new story. Okay, so the important takeaway here are 3 things. The team is insistent that this is going to be an Armored Core game through and through. They claim to be putting a lot of resources into making this a very high-quality Armored Core game. And, most importantly, it seems Cowboy was right. And insofar as I disagreed with him, I was mistaken. Which is fine, because, frankly, I've kind of wanted to play a different kind of From Software game for a while now, if for no other reason than to stop people from being able to say that they're a one-trick pony. I'm kind of sated on the Souls formula at the moment. I'm sure that'll change in the future, and in the future we'll probably get more Souls-type gameplay. For example, there's still the possibility of an Elden Ring DLC in the horizon, and they're sure to bring that style of gameplay back at some point in the future anyway. So I'm perfectly content if they intend to bring their IPs into the modern age, and give those IPs the opportunity to succeed on their own merits, without the Souls formula as a backbone. Hell, if we're doing that, may I recommend that the next thing that we do is Lost Kingdoms 3. Lost Kingdoms 3 by From Software and Activision. It's been too long. That one deserves another shot. That one deserves a chance to be popular too. You know, I'm joking, but there might be a shot for that one, or other From Software IPs. There was an interview a while ago where Miyazaki had said that they were very interested in bringing some of their IPs to the forefront in the future. Anyway, the main takeaway from here is that FightinCowboy was absolutely correct, and I was incorrect. So, my bad. My trust in the leaker's words were misplaced. So really, if we think about it, it's all his fault. It's all Red Licorice's fault. People really need to play things other than From Software games, so that when you see even the slightest hint of melee combat, your first instinct isn't, oh, well, that's very Souls-like. Clearly, the speed and movement style of this upcoming Armored Core game is very Soulsy, very Souls-like. Anyway, that's the end of this video. As always, thank you very much for watching.